up, y'all? I said, what's up, y'all? Look at me when I'm talking to you, bro. Nah, I'm just messing with y'all, man. This your boy Knockout Boxing 86 TV, and we in here. So check this out, bro. Before we get going on our video, smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you're new here, share the video, turn on your notifications, and go follow me on Twitter at KOBoxing86 TV. If you got a breakdown or a prediction, knockoutboxing86 at yahoo.com is the email address. And don't forget about our live shows, live every Wednesday and Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. You can also catch us live every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Central Standard Time with the Singing OG KQKC Boxing Network. But let's get it popping. Let's get into today's video. And today, Vergil Ortiz Jr. is positioning himself to be a unified champion once we get the fights that we all want to see happen. And that is the Errol Spence-Terrence Crawford fight. I fully anticipate and I expect that fight to happen. And I also expect the winner of that fight to vacate all those belts and move up to 154. I think the loser's going to move up too. But I do expect here in the near future, I say by this time, 2023, belts will be vacated. And people are trying to position themselves to be able to get those belts. And then some news for Vergil Ortiz. He is now petitioned the WBA to become the mandatory for Emantis Stanionis. Vergil Ortiz is also already number one in the WBO, with Jerron Boutin going the IBF route. And we don't know what the WBC is going to do because Keith Thurman is currently number one in the WBC. You got Vergil right there at number two in the WBC, with Jerron Boutin is number three in the WBC. So Vergil Ortiz is in a good position to fight for two separate belts because he's number one in two sanctioning bodies, and he's already petitioned the WBA to fight Emantis Stanionis to be that person that's in position to either be elevated or fight for the vacant Super WBA once it gets vacated by the winner of Spence and Crawford. So the WBA basically says, or this is what Ortiz said about it. He says, one thing we have done since I'm the WBA mandatory or whatever, we reached out to the WBA and pushed the mandatory thing to fight Stanionis. Hopefully we get it by the end of this year. So he trying to get that fight in. And Stanionis do need a fight. And let me tell y'all something, bro. Vergil Ortiz versus Emantis Stanionis, absolute fight of the year, fireworks, just phone booth, all action type of fight. Somebody getting their ass knocked out in that fight, bro. Somebody is getting their ass knocked out in that fight. And salute to Vergil Ortiz for continuing of like the welterweight prospects. You know, Conor Ben, Vergil Ortiz, Jerron Boutin. I think Jerron Boutin is on a whole different level as a talent. But as far as the guy who's got the best experience and built up the better resume and fought the tougher competition between the three of those top guys, again, Conor Ben, Jerron Boutin, and Vergil Ortiz, my top welterweight prospects right now. Fourth and kind of lower on that list because he's just getting started. You got to throw Tiger Johnson out of Ohio in there. It looks phenomenal as a talent. But Vergil Ortiz is the most proven, bro. Vergil Ortiz has fought the better fighters of all those guys. I mean, you look at his resume. You got Mean Machine. You got Maurice Hooker on there. You got McKinson on there, Aqua fighter that was undefeated and in his prime. You got Samuel Vargas on there, Mo Hooker. Like, bro, Vergil Ortiz done fought some top-level fighters as he's built his way up. So that trend seems to continue as he prepares to try to fight Stanionis, who is coming off a very impressive victory over Butayev. Now, the issue that I see, though, is Stanionis fights on the PBC and Vergil Ortiz fights on DAZN through Golden Boy. So we all know how hard it's been for us to get PBC and DAZN fights. It's kind of co-promotion. We saw what happened with Jamal Charlo and Jaime Munguia. We saw what's happening right now and how difficult it is for this Tank Davis and Gervonta Davis situation. I mean, Tank Davis and Gervonta Davis. Tank Davis and Ryan Garcia situation. So how will they be able to do business? And I think the best way is to force them to do business. Like if you're the WBA and you mandate this shit, now Vergil Ortiz's team and Stanionis' team, they have to come to an agreement or risk going the purse bid and made a person with the deeper pockets win. But this is a phenomenal fight. This is a fight I'm very, very excited about. And let me tell you, I think the other part of this is that if Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford don't fight, I think Vergil Ortiz sees his path through the WBA as a more forgiving path because he will get to fight Stanionis and then kind of wait to see what Earl does with that WBA belt. Does he defend it? Does he move up? If him and Crawford don't fight, it puts him in an easier position because in order for him in the WBO, he was already the mandatory to Terrence Crawford, but he didn't want that fight. So they moved him down and moved Sean Porter back up to the #1 position, which is how Porter became the mandatory, and Porter did indeed take the fight. So no disrespect to Stanionis, but I don't think there's anyone listening to my voice that thinks Stanionis is a taller task or a tougher fight for Vergil Ortiz than the Terrence Bud Crawford. Stanionis don't have the counter punching ability. He doesn't have the movement. He doesn't have the ability to take advantage of some of the mistakes that Vergil Ortiz makes. It'll be a much more comfortable phone booth, all-out war kind of power boxing match, whereas Terrence Crawford could really frustrate Vergil, outbox him, and kind of do some pivots and some lateral movement and has some boxing skills that Stanionis to this point in his career hasn't been able to exhibit nearly as successful as we've seen Terrence Bud Crawford exhibit them. So I think that's the other part at play here is that when Vergil Ortiz and his team are looking at the WBO route and they're looking at the WBA route, what seems more difficult? If Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford happens and you got Stanionis right there as the regular champion, what's more difficult? Fighting Stanionis for that WBA if Errol Spence, Terrence Crawford win or drops it, or fighting Jerron Boots Ennis, who's #2 in the WBO, fighting him for the WBO vacant that the winner vacates, right? And then let's say Crawford and Spence don't fight if you Vergil Ortiz. Let's say they don't fight, Spence does something else, and he just moves up. But Crawford keeps his WBO. What's easier? Fighting Stanionis for that vacant WBA or fighting Bud Crawford for his WBO title? Or again, if Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford don't fight, if you Vergil Ortiz, but they both move up and so all the belts get vacated, what do you think Vergil Ortiz and his team are looking at as a easier, more winnable road and a more appealing fight for Vergil to have the best chance to get a victory and become a world champion at welterweight? Do you think they would prefer to fight Stanionis for that vacant WBA that Spence will have dropped? Or do you think they prefer to fight Jerron Boots Ennis, #2 in the WBO for his title? For that, you know what I'm saying, for the WBO title. Or if Jerron Boots Ennis doesn't fight for the WBO and he continues to go the IBF route, right there waiting is still Keith Thurman. So again, Keith Thurman more proven than Stanionis, only ever lost to Manny Pacquiao, and Keith Thurman has the type of movement, the type of boxing skills and ring IQ that will make it difficult for Vergil. We all saw the difficulty that Vergil Ortiz had cutting off the ring against Mike McKinson. Well, who moves better and who has better boxing skills and who has more power? Michael McKinson or Keith Thurman? So when you're looking at it from that perspective, you got to say that Vergil Ortiz and his team are making a smart move by trying to go the WBA route because, quite frankly, if I'm just being honest, as a Vergil Ortiz fan, the WBO route, no matter whichever scenario you play out, the WBO route is just a more difficult route, bro. It just is. You either got to fight Terrence if Terrence don't move up for his WBO as his mandatory challenger, or you got to fight Boots Ennis if he decides not to go the IBF route anymore and he wants to go the WBO route all of a sudden. You fight Jerron Boots Ennis for the belt that Terrence Crawford vacates, or you fight Keith Thurman for the belt that Terrence Crawford vacates. What's the easier fight between what's the more winnable fight for Vergil Ortiz where you don't have as many questions? Vergil Ortiz versus Boots Ennis, Vergil Ortiz versus Terrence Crawford, Vergil Ortiz versus Keith Thurman, or Vergil Ortiz versus Emantis Stanionis? I think we all would agree that probably the answer to that question is the more winnable fight. Still a tough fight, but because of style matchups, the more winnable fight, easier fight for Vergil to be able to do what he does well is the fight with Emantis Stanionis. And so it's a smart move for him to try to go that WBA route. Just keeping it all the way 100 with y'all. But y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Again, Vergil Ortiz putting his hat in the ring to see if he can become the mandatory for Emantis Stanionis. He's hoping to get news on that soon. And we might have a fight at the end of the year, big time welterweight contender matchup between two of the top contenders in the welterweight division, Vergil Ortiz Jr. and Emantis Stanionis. Let me know what y'all think of that fight. I say, sign me up. Sign me up for that shit. I'm all the way here for it. But let me know what you think. Comment down below. Smash the like. Subscribe to the channel. Share the video. Turn on your notifications. Go follow me on Twitter at KOBoxing86TV. If you got a breakdown or a prediction you want me to do, knockoutboxing86 at yahoo.com is the email address. And don't forget about our live shows. Live every Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. Live every Thursday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time. And you can also catch me live every Sunday morning, 9 a.m. Central Time with the singing OG KQKC Boxing Network. I appreciate y'all watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. And with that, we out of here. Peace, y'all.